Hey gang, it's Maria here from goalietrainingpro.com, and we're just sitting in on a chat with Kevin Carr. And Kevin is a goalie that I've known for several years. I think we first met in Florida. Is that right?
Yeah, in Florida.
And so we've sort of kept in touch all along. But last season you were with Nottingham Panthers of the, what is it, EIHL?
Yes.
Yeah, the I always kind of gets me. Is that international or what?
I think it's Elite Ice Hockey League.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to chat sort of about your path to get to pro level, because
Sure.
I think you might have played like junior hockey in the States, and then some NCAA D3, and then SPHL, and then up to the East Coast. It's sort of tell us a little bit about just sort of quickly about your path, and then we'll drill down on it a little more.
Sure. Yeah, it's a little unconventional, but if anyone listening is not having the same experience as getting drafted to the OHL and then being a first round pick and cruising your way to the NHL, it's not always like that. It doesn't always happen like that. In an ideal world, that would be amazing. But for me, I played AAA growing up. And, when I started growing up and the other kids started growing up as well around minor midget, they got better and I didn't, because I wasn't putting in the time. I wasn't putting in the effort. My off-ice training. And at that point, off-ice training wasn't as big as it is now. It was just kind of slowly starting to progress. And I was a smaller kid. I didn't start growing until maybe grade 11, grade 12, where I kind of shot up now. And I'm still not that big. I'm 6'1", barely 6'2", maybe. But yeah, it was kind of an unconventional way. I dropped down to AA because I couldn't make the AAA team anymore. And I played about 3 years in AA, and that was through my draft year. And I didn't get drafted to the OHL. I didn't get drafted to the USHL or anything like that. I knew I still wanted to play. I still had the passion to play. And it was, I talked to my parents recently about this, and, we had talked about sometimes it's the easy path is not always the best one, and the hardships that you go through and the being cut from a team, the, bad games, the bad seasons, the ups and downs is what makes you the person and the player you are throughout your career. So I wouldn't change it for the world. I knew I wanted to continue playing. Like I said, I really enjoyed the game, and it really fueled a bigger passion for me when I wasn't making those teams. And, I kind of took it for granted a little bit that I was on the AAA team for 7 years. I played on the same team, and, I was just the only goalie at that time because, we were young. We weren't taking two goalies at that point. So I just figured I'd be there and just no big deal. And I'd, get drafted to OHL, and that was it. But my hockey career had different plans. And, I think from that moving forward, and like I said, those times where you get cut is what fuels you to move on, and you either progress or you don't progress. And I chose from that point forward that I wanted to do everything that I could to make it to the next level. So I wanted to get back up to AAA, and I didn't do that for 3 years. Like I said, I played AA, and I wanted to play junior hockey in Tier 2 here. I live in Markham, Ontario, and the Waxers here were a prominent team before they turned to the Royals. And I would go on Friday nights and watch hockey games. I wouldn't go out with my friends. I wouldn't party. I wouldn't go to school dances, things like that. I really enjoyed watching hockey, and I wanted to get better, and that's what I did. I didn't make the team. I tried out for a bunch of junior teams around here, Tier 2 teams, and everyone just kind of said, maybe next year, keep trying. And I ended up playing a year in juvenile when I aged out of midget hockey. Juvenile, I think it's called under 21 now. It's not even it might not even be a league. I'm not really sure how that's working now, but so I played a year there. And long story short, we had entered a tournament in Toronto, and we had played this team from Atlanta, and they were called the Atlanta Knights, and they had actually entered the wrong tournament. They were a junior team in Atlanta. It was called the MJHL, which is now since even dissolved. It's not even a league anymore, the Metropolitan Junior Hockey League. And they thought we were a junior hockey team, but we weren't. We were just a bunch of guys that had day jobs and wanted to continue playing hockey. So we had played this team in the finals, and my dad, it was a good game. We ended up going overtime, and I think I had something like 50 some shots, or the other goalie had 50 or 60 as well. And it was just kind of like a goalie battle. And, I wanted to tape, one, for just my personal records, and two, I was trying to put a little video together to send off for the following year to some teams, and, like a video resume kind of thing. And my dad started talking to the guy who was filming the game, and he said, "Who's your son?" And my dad said, "Oh, he's one of the goalies on the other team." And he said, "Who are you?" And the guy filming was actually the owner of the team.
Huh.
So he said, "Well, if your son would be interested, we might have a goalie opening next year for our team." So, they kind of got in contact, and it evolved from there. So I ended up going down next summer and trying out for the team, and they had signed me to a contract. And I would say the hockey was about junior B or junior C level here at the time. We had an amazing team. We had a really good group of guys. Ownership was amazing of the team. And, I ended up living with an amazing billet family as well, and got that whole junior experience. And I was away from home. It was my first time being away from home. I was 19 years old, which is a late start for a kid playing junior hockey, and which is also a little unconventional. And, I ran with it. I really tried to make the most of my opportunity there. And we had, like I said, we had a really, really good team. We didn't lose too many games. And I got an opportunity to go to Buffalo State. I came home for Christmas, and I had actually called the team because my one of my roommates in Atlanta had been recruited by Buffalo State, which is a small D3 school just across the border. And coach had said, like, we might have an opening. We're not really sure. At that point, leading up to Christmas, I think I had about 9 shutouts, and I was interested. I had nothing. I had a couple ACHA offers, like club hockey offers, and I knew that I was a little better than that. And I started to gain a little bit of confidence, and there was no looks from any D1 teams. I had talked to a few teams, but they said, play another year of junior. And at that point I would have been 20, not even playing tier 2. So there was a high risk of me going back and playing junior somewhere and maybe not getting anything. So at Christmas time, when I had talked to Buffalo State, they said, come for a tour. Hopefully if you like the school, we'll talk about bringing you in. So I went for a tour, and it was kind of history from there. I had played 104 games in my 4 years there. I think I only didn't play one game, and it was in a tournament. And I ended up becoming an All-American, second All-American in school history. And I got an opportunity that I was just looking for. There wasn't many people that wanted to give me that opportunity. And I think the coach at the time was Nick Carrier, whose dad was an assistant GM with the Montreal Canadiens. And he just gave me an opportunity, and I tried to make the most of it. So, it's an unconventional path, and D3 hockey, a lot of people are saying, it's not D1. It's, a lot of high school players, and that's not true. And I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of players that come down from D1 that say D3 hockey is just as good. And there could be a lot of guys that have been overlooked. And, there's a lot of hockey players out there. I'm not bitter about not getting picked up by a D1 team or anything like that. And honestly, it couldn't have been better, because I had played from the day I got there to the day I left 4 years later. And potentially, usually how it goes in D1 is you wait your opportunities out. You bide your time a little bit, and you might play your third year at school, maybe your senior year. And by that time, on your resume, what do you have? 20 games. You know,
Yeah.
you're not really getting all that much better unless you're playing games. And I'm a firm believer in that. And even, you know, for kids I talk to that I teach now, they're like, oh, you know, I'm not on a very good team, and, you know, I get 100 shots a game. And I
Yeah.
said, that's perfect. That's amazing. Do you know how much better you're going to be than the guy who gets 5 shots a game or 10 shots a game, but wins? Like their team scores all the goals, and you're going to be that much better than everyone else. And it might not look it right now, but if you look at the big picture, many years down the line, you're going to be thankful for the times that you got shelled every single night. So from there, my senior year, I went to some of my professors and I said I want to be a hockey player. And I went to my guidance counselor, and we worked on a schedule where after the season, if we had got knocked out of playoffs at a certain time, then I would like all my classes online, or a lot of them online, so that I could potentially go and play somewhere. And I had front loaded all of my major studies to my first semester. So my second semester was kind of, courses that weren't towards my major. So I had been able to put the majority of my classes online, which is great. And we got knocked out first round of playoffs, unfortunately. And I had talked to Peoria in the SPHL, and they had brought me in. It's kind of a funny story. It's I know this is a little long-winded, but
No, it's good.
it's kind of a funny story. So on my hockey DB, or my elite prospects at the time, it said that I was an American citizen, which I'm not. I'm Canadian. So when they brought me in, I got all the way to Peoria. I flew all the way there from school, continuing my classes online in the airport, on my computer. And so I get all the way there, and they said, they were talking about payment and all that stuff. And, I was making $290 a week.
And loving it, like feeling like a king probably
Yeah,
too. Like, oh my
yeah,
God, I can't believe it.
exactly. Yeah. It could have been $1 million. It would have had the same feeling,
Yeah.
but I'd originally signed for 280, and they gave me a $10 raise when I got there, and
Boom.
I was living the good life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some really good roommates and had a nice place, and Peoria is amazing. The organization is amazing. And, they go to the finals almost every year now. And, I really enjoyed my time there. So yeah, so I got all the way there, and they said, you're not American. Like, we're not really. Why? Because I had been on a school visa, and then what I would have to do was trade in my school visa to get a work visa in the United States, because I was Canadian, and they didn't know that. And they said, I got there and I was ready to play the first game, and they realized that I was Canadian, and they said, well, you can't play because you're Canadian. Like, you haven't got a work visa. This is illegal. And my parents were coming to watch the game. They were driving down from Toronto to Peoria, which isn't that far of a drive. And, they just happened to call me and say, how's it going? Like, are you excited for the first game? And I said, well, here's the situation. Where are you guys? And they said, well, we just crossed the border. I said, well, wait, don't go anywhere. I'm going to have to make it to the border, get my paperwork, and then drive back. So they ended up staying the night. They got a hotel room, and I was going to have to drive with another player another person from the organization, drive me. But it was going to take too much time. And, I didn't have that much time left before the season was going to end.
Yeah.
So they ended up flying me. I flew, got my paperwork. They didn't want to give it to me. Actually, it was kind of a hassle. It was.
That's what I was gonna say. And then it's just like, it totally depends who you get on the day, right?
Exactly. So they're like, you're a Canadian student,
Yeah.
but now you're working in the U.S. That it didn't really compute to the average person who doesn't really understand the hockey scenario, right? So long story short, they gave it to me, and my parents drove me all the way back to Peoria, and I had missed the game because I was doing all this. So I ended up playing the night after, and it was just an amazing experience. And it was too bad. We had a good team, but we got knocked out of playoffs first round as well. So here I am thinking I'm going to go back to school and finish and do my exams. And it was my senior year, so hang out with my buddies and just enjoy the rest of the experience. And Colorado Eagles had called, and they said, I had played pretty well in the games that I had been there for in Peoria, and they said, we're entering playoffs too. Do you want to come, be with us for a little while? So of course I said yes, because now I'm flying high again, right? So I flew out to Colorado, and I spent a little bit of time there, and ended up going back to school and finishing my exams and graduating and getting my degree. But I still wanted to play. I didn't want to give it up just yet. And I felt like I was still learning every year and growing. And from that moment forward, I dedicated myself in the summertime on and off the ice and really tried to get myself in good shape. And, I knew it wasn't going to be easy trying to make the jump to pro hockey now. And it's not like school where it's a little more structured. And, if you have maybe a bad season, they're still going to bring you back potentially for the next year. And pro hockey is just not like that. So I'd signed in the CHL with the Tulsa Oilers. Mm-hmm. And at that point, and this was probably 2014, maybe 2014 or 15. And they were in the process from the CHL and ECHL they were going to merge.
Okay.
And they had talked about it in the summertime, but I had signed in the CHL. And when I got to training camp, they had merged. CHL and ECHL were merging. So I got there and training camp got canceled. So I'm now in a hotel room waiting to hear what's going to happen with ECHL. And because, now the ECHL is affiliated with NHL teams. So your roster spots could fill up pretty quickly. And with CHL, I had maybe a little bit more opportunity there, but I was just kind of waiting now. So again, long story short, they merged and our training camp was cut short. And I played pretty well in the exhibition games and during training camp. And God love him, Bruce Ramsey. He really gave me an opportunity, and I can't thank that guy enough. I actually talked to him today, and I ended up playing 52 games that season. My first year, we went through four or five goalies, and some of them were contracted goalies with the NHL, and I kind of stuck around and just tried to work as hard as I could and be a good teammate, whether I was playing or not playing, and voted MVP that year. So that was, it was a pretty surreal experience. And I had re-signed for the next year. So I spent 2 years in Tulsa, and I got traded to Alaska. Went from Alaska, and in the summertime when I got traded to Alaska, my coach there, Rob Murray, he called me. It was the World Cup of Hockey at that point in Toronto here. And Markstrom in Vancouver, we were affiliated with Vancouver. And Markstrom at the time was at the World Cup. So there was an opening at NHL main camp for the Vancouver Canucks. So he calls me and he's like, "Welcome to the team. I have a question to ask you. Would you be interested in going to NHL main camp for Vancouver Canucks?" And I was like, "Well, I'll check my schedule." Yeah. Let me check my schedule. So I ended up going there, and I spent a week at NHL main camp. So here I am, 3 years earlier playing D3 hockey, and now I'm at NHL main camp. So it's if I had any advice to young goalies, it would be not give up. And from there, I went to Utica, and I spent over the next few years, I went to a couple different AHL main camps and spent some time with Wilkes-Barre and San Diego, and ended up going overseas. And I was in Croatia for a year or half a season, which was in the Austrian ECHL. And last year, or 2 years ago, I'd signed with Colorado Eagles again, the American League two-way, and spent my year in Utah, which I love Utah. Utah is an amazing place. If anyone's ever been out there, it's, picture perfect everywhere you look. But this past season, I wanted to try something new. I wanted to head over to overseas again. I wanted to, I was getting older. I'm 30 years old now, and my time in North America was, I feel, coming to an end. And but I still wasn't done. I still wanted to keep playing and progressing my career. And every year I seem to still have that drive and still have that desire. And I still feel like I'm getting better every year. I'm, getting smarter, and I feel like I'm a little more efficient in the net. But so I went to Nottingham in England, and that was an amazing experience too. Just the whole culture of it all, and different hockey and different people. And it was a lot like being at home, to be honest with you, because English speaking country, and aside from the history of being in England, like, you felt a lot of the players were Canadian or American, and we had, I think that's 11 or 12 imports you're allowed. So it just felt like you're playing at home, but somewhere else. So that was amazing. And unfortunately the season got cut short because we did have a really good team, and we could have made a really good playoff run, but that also wasn't in the cards. So sorry for a long-winded.
Yeah, no, but I think like it's good. Like because I think that younger goalies, they just don't have a clue, and they have a perception that, well, it's like you go do this and then you do that, and if it doesn't go that way, well, then probably somebody's playing, like, I'm getting screwed somehow here, or and it's, so I think the two things, and even goalies that I work with in the turning pro who've had a similar path, it's like what we're not training so that you're going to get a D1 scholarship. We're training so you're going to make the most of your next opportunity, whatever that is. And I think when the goalies focus on that, then if all the pegs don't fall, or the chips don't fall exactly where they're supposed to, it's like, okay, like, yes, I went to that camp, I was trying to make that team. I didn't make that team, but that doesn't mean I stopped training now, because that's the other side of it. People, well, I got so disheartened, so then I stopped training for 3 weeks, and it's like, well, but then another opportunity just popped up, and you've been sitting on the sofa eating Cheetos for the last 3 weeks and pouting about it. So, it's having that resilience to say, like, I'm training to perform well at my next best opportunity, whatever that is, because you never know who's sitting in the stands, and it's like you said, like, I try to be the best teammate I can when I'm playing and when I'm not playing. And that speaks volumes. It's like, I was talking to a guy a couple weeks ago, and well, but the other goalie on my team, he's really good, and he's been there for 5 years, and or whatever, and it's like, well, but like, be an awesome teammate to him. Like, don't think of, like, oh, well, he won his start, so now I have to win my start. Well, obviously you're trying to win, and do your best to win every game, but think of yourselves as a team, as a unit, that the two of you need to help each other get better, rather than, well, if he wins the game, that takes away from my value. And I think, again, it's an intangible, but it makes so much difference, eh?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like you said, you're still a team. On any team, there's sometimes a starting goalie and there's sometimes a backup goalie, and you're not always going to play 50-50. And that's just the way it is in life too. Like, it's not always going to go your way. So if you're a bad guy and you're a bad goalie, they're probably not going to keep you around. But if you look at, let's just say, for instance, this year in the playoffs, Dallas, with Anton Khudobin, he is a great teammate off the ice and on the ice. And then when he did get his opportunity, the guys really wanted to play hard and work hard for him in front of him, because he is such a good person, and the glue that keeps the locker room together, or whatever your cliches are. But like, he really wanted to do well for the guy, and to see him do well was amazing too. I'm sure, on both sides, for him and his teammates. So yeah, it's just an important piece, and it translates to the business side too. If you're a bad guy in the office, probably not going to keep you around very much, whether you make sales or not. So I think sport is amazing.
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, sport, we're involved in sport for it to teach us lessons and teach us habits that help us excel in life. We're not in sport to win the sport. And I want to go back to another thing that you said that I think really resonated too, is that you love playing hockey, and you still love playing hockey, and that's why you play. Again, you weren't, well, I play hockey so that I'm going to be in the NHL, or so that I'm going to get a D1 scholarship. It's like, I love this game, and I want to be as good as I possibly can be. And as in the process of doing that, you've been able to have all these amazing experiences, but that hasn't been your reason. And that, I think that's powerful. And I think people don't realize enough that it's at the base level, you have to love it. And you're not going to be like, oh, yippee, like, I'm getting crushed at practice today, this is fun. But it's like, I have a passion for my craft. Is that right?
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. And if you look at any millionaire, billionaire out there in the world, they never work for money, right? They work for the passion of whatever their craft is. And whether it's making, iPads, or it's making cell phones or computers, or whatever, or if it's making paper, they have a passion for it. It's not because they want to become a millionaire. Those are the residuals of working hard and working on your passion. But it's the same for hockey. I think if you're playing just to make the NHL, you're not going to make it. If you play to love the game and see how good you can become and see where it can take you. And I had an interview the other day with somebody, and we talked about the fans and interacting with fans. And like I said to the person that was interviewing me, I said, I always try to interact with the fans as much as possible, because aside from just being hockey fans, they're good people, and they can be in your network of friends or whoever outside of hockey, because eventually hockey does end. And I'm getting a little bit of taste of it right now with this pandemic. Is I'm unsigned right now, and I still want to play, but there's just not much opportunity out there right now. So I might have to lean on some of those contacts that I've gained over the last number of years that I've played. You got to look at it both ways.
Yeah. If there is sort of let's say one thing that you wish you'd known when you were 16 or 16 to 19, somewhere in that window, that you really think could have had a dramatically positive impact on your career, what would that be?
Just never give up. It's such a dumb cliche, and you don't really understand it until your back's against the wall, and that's the only thing you've got. And there's lots of opportunities where I could have just shut it down and got a job and never seen the things that I've seen, or some of the places that I've been to, and some of the people that I've met, just from not giving up. Aside from hockey, and hockey's whatever, but the like I said, the opportunities that have come from it, and the places that I've been and seen, and the life experience that I've gained is much more valuable than getting a 9-to-5 job potentially 5, 6, 8 years ago, when I could have stopped. And I got a degree out of it to boot. So yeah, it's a great game. But I think if I could give any advice to anybody, is just don't give up, because you never know where it's going to take you. And the ones that succeed are the ones that keep knocking on the doors and just keep working. It's funny, because I was out at a skate earlier today, and I had met a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time. And he's like, "Oh, you're still going, huh?" And I'm like, "Yep, I'm still going, still trying to get better." And these kids that I'm skating with are 16 to 24 years old, and it's just, it's a battle. So it's if you look at the long game and you want to keep playing, and that's in your cards, then you can't give up early.
Yeah, no, that's again, like it all relates even just to life after hockey. And then, so during the lockdown too, it's caused this hard pause. And something that I'm assuming you've had in your head is that, I would be interested just to try coaching, or to do some coaching and give back to goalies. And there's always a reason for that. So, there's a reason I wanted to become a strength coach. And why did you want to start coaching? What did you see that you wanted to maybe change, or that you wanted to approach differently?
Yeah, I in the summertime, I usually have been coaching for a number of years. I've never really made it to an official thing until this year, where, just given the times and what's been happening, I wanted to keep busy and keep active. So, I really dove into more of the business side of things, and I figured that it would keep me in the game, keep my mind sharp, because, that's the best tool as well, is just, if you're telling somebody something, you hear it as well. And it's just repetition over and over and over again. So yeah, during the lockdown, and had lots of time on my hands, and there's only so many movies you can watch before you decide to be productive. So I started my business, made it official, and worked on my social media, and it's still an ongoing process, and it's hard out there to get clients. But I really thought that, like you said, I really wanted to give back to the game, give back to what it's given me. And there's a lot of good young goalies out there that I think need instruction, proper instruction. There's a lot of goalie coaches out there that are teaching maybe a little bit different methods. And And I think that I can, get in there, and I, with my a little bit of a unique story, I think I can resonate with some of the other goalies that are not on the golden path to the NHL. And I think that's more the norm than the exception. So if I can somehow connect with them on a deeper level than just a hockey level, on a more personal level between them and their parents, then if we can all become one, then I think that's where success grows.
Yeah, and I think you just, in talking to you other times, and even I'm sure it's coming through in this interview, you have a passion for goaltending, but you have a passion for people and developing good young people. And it's, probably the nicest compliment I could ever get from an athlete that I've trained, and is when they say when they don't talk about, oh, well, you made me this much stronger, you helped me, or, not I made them, but I helped them get this much stronger, or help them, accomplishes that. But it's that, like, I really felt like you cared, and that is the thing, to care as much about their hopes and dreams, as you do about your own, and really work diligently to get there, right?
100%. 100%. And if you care about the person, and going back to the Dallas Stars, their head coach, he cared about the players, and the players wanted to work hard for him. And my first year in Tulsa, Bruce Ramsey, he really cared about us as people. And it's easy, especially in the tier 2 level, tier 2 pro level, is, you're just another guy. There's so many players out there that'll play for less money than you will, and they're probably just as good. They just want the opportunity as much as you do. And, we weren't doing very well at the start of the year. And I remember he used to come in and say, like, I don't want to trade you guys. I don't want to. I think, we have the team, we have, all those cliches as well. We have the group to do it. And he really did stick with us. He didn't trade too many guys. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 trades where some things that had to be done. And I get that because he had pressure from the organization, but we turned it around, and, we always loved playing for him, and we had a great year after that. But if you truly care about somebody and they feel like you care, they're going to work hard for you.
Yeah. This will be a hard question to answer, because I know that it's the same as in strength and conditioning. The answer is really, it depends. It depends on the experience, the history. But let's say I was a parent that I had a goalie that was 12 and under. What are those tools in the toolbox that really they should be focusing and learning in that window? And then let's look then, maybe above 12, but in my head, I'm kind of thinking like 15 to 20 sort of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 12 and below, just have fun, play the game because you like it. And you want to be with your buddies, and you go to tournaments and stay away in hotels, and you play mini sticks in the hallways. And sometimes a lot of people can get really wrapped up in winning and losing at that age. And just have fun, play other sports. Don't play hockey in the summertime. Become a baseball player, become a soccer player, become a lacrosse player. I played all those sports in the summertime too. And I always tell my clients in the summertime as well, like, I don't want to see you more than maybe once or twice a week at the most, because you know what, being a baseball player, being a soccer player, being a volleyball player, it's going to make you a better hockey player in the end. It's going to make you a better, well-rounded athlete and a more athletic athlete. So when you translate that summertime performance in other sport to your wintertime hockey, 1, you're going to still be passionate about the game. You haven't been burnt out. And 2, you're probably going to be better for it. I would say for 12 and above, you're starting to become a little bit older, where the technical side of the game is now important, because, in the next 3-4 years, you could potentially be drafted to the ECHL or play junior hockey. And if that's something that you want to pursue, then I would say really focus on your off-ice training, your on-ice training with a goalie coach, the mental side of the game. If that's something that you want to do as well, then But still, you got to have passion for it. You got to love the game, and you can't go to the rink thinking that, oh man, it's another practice, it's July, but you have to put in the time, because it was a first-hand experience. Is I didn't put in the time. I wasn't as diligent as my other teammates were, putting in the hours of training off the ice and on the ice in the summertime. I like to play golf, and maybe that hurt me. But if anyone was to take some advice from what not to do, that would be it. So I would say definitely, continue working hard but still love the game.
Yeah. And I sort of call it like start building those pro habits, like that. Yeah. Pros don't get those habits when they make it to the NHL. They've built them over time, and that's how they've got to whatever level it is they're playing at.
Exactly. You're still very impressionable at that age too. When you go to the rink and you see another pro, like surround yourself with really good people and other hockey people. And I used to go to the rink all the time and play pickup hockey, like midday shinny, and I would just go, and there'd be a lot of players out there that are just playing, whether they're professional hockey players or ex-professional hockey players. They still have those pro tendencies. And I picked a lot up just by your average Joe playing pickup hockey at noon. Yeah. And I would just put in the work that way. And people are like, well, why are you going out to like midday shinny? You're getting guys in their lunch hour. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But what are you doing?
Yeah. Some of them can rip the puck too. I go to stick and puck. Well, it hasn't started up again, but when I go to stick and puck, it's like, I swear all these guys do is go to stick and puck and just rip wristers and slap shots. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, and they're getting better.
Yeah.
They're getting way better than the guys that aren't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just going out once a week. So
can you think of a book or maybe two books you've read that either, whether they're hockey or not hockey related, but that kind of you feel helped you on your journey?
Yes. I would say when I was younger, I got introduced to The Secret. I think it was Rhonda Bryan. Rhonda, is that how you say your last name? Rhonda Bryan. And it really helped mentally. It helped me mentally. It was, The Secret talks about law of attraction, and whether you believe in it or not, I truly invested my time in it. And whether I was doing it properly or improperly, I don't know, but it really got my my mental side of it to a more positive state. So I think especially when you're a younger goalie, if you can read something that's positive like that, and you can translate that into hockey and into life, then throughout your stage of from 12 and up, you're, like we talked about, you're going to be in some good situations and you're going to be in some tough situations. And if you can keep that positive mental state, then that's really going to help you. And I had talked about another book, a bunch of books on my Instagram. If anyone follows me, they'd see that I'm a firm believer in immersing yourself in all different types of books, but especially the ones that you're focused on. So for me, it was being obsessed with reading about people that have already been there. So Kelly Rudy's book is really good. Clint Malarchuk's book is really good. He talks a lot about the mental side of the game, and his story is unbelievable as well. Yeah. But you have to be obsessed with what you want to do. And from then, if you're obsessed with it, you're going to go to all the lengths in the world to make sure that you are successful. And if you don't, then you won't be. And that's just easily how it's broken down. Yeah. In my 30 years of life, that's what that's the knowledge that I've learned.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty bang on. Where can folks learn more about you and follow you on social and all that jazz?
Yeah, my Instagram is at Kevin Carr _elite goaltending. My Facebook is Kevin Carr Elite Goaltending as well. I'm working on the website currently. It's a little bit under construction, but I have the .com and .ca domain, so they'll both be up. But yeah, my Instagram, it's probably the best way to get a hold of me, whether it's a DM or something like that. You can see some of my posters around the local rinks as well. But probably Instagram, Facebook is pretty worldly right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah,
that is Carr spelled with 2 R's. So
2 hours. Yes. Yep.
people are finding you where you're at. That was fantastic. And yeah, like it's so valuable for people to hear other goalie stories and to hear from other goalies who have walked the path, because I think too many goalies, yeah, what they have an idea of what the path is, and when they get knocked off it, they don't realize my job now is to find the next best path. They just
Yep.
think, but well, now I don't have a path, and it just isn't the way. So I love that you sharing your story, and I know other goalies will be like, oh, that happened to me, and this guy made it, so I can make it too. So thank you so much for taking the time to just help out.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I look at the scenario like water. If there's a place where water wants to go, if it's running downhill and there's a blockage, water's going to find its way somehow. You know, if it's left, right, up, down, wherever, it's going to find a way. So I'm nobody special. I don't think of myself as anyone special. My story isn't special. There's a lot of other goalies out there with very similar stories and have been more successful than me. But like you said, I think it's important to hear all different stories of how people made it, quote unquote, made it, whatever making it is for you, whether you want to play junior hockey or you want to play college or pro or NHL, whatever. But I think a lot of those, a lot of the hardships are going to be translating into your life post hockey as well. So yeah, thank you very much for giving me the vessel of showing my story, hearing my story.
That was awesome, man. Thanks, and we'll chat again soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking your time as well.
No, that was awesome. Great chatting with you, Kevin. I'll chat with you soon.